What is going on, everyone, and welcome back to another video on the channel. And today I'm going to be going through my round 8 AFL tips and predictions, and of course going through my round 7 tips and predictions as well as my big call. So let's start off with my round 7 tips. I think everyone can all agree that they all did pretty poor in tipping. I think it was one of the worst tip rounds of recent memory. I mean, I know a lot of people got 3s, 4s, 2s. Huntsman could have gotten 0 at one stage, but I think he ended up getting 2. So first round, Richmond v Bulldogs. At halftime, I was licking my lips, but then the Tigers, just made a massive surge and comeback. Won that game, so I got the first one incorrect. Next game, Collingwood v Gold Coast. I tipped the Pies stupidly, got that incorrect, and then I got the next game incorrect where I tipped Adelaide to beat the Giants. The first tip I got correct was the Saints to beat the Hawks. Then I got Lions to beat Port Adelaide correct. But then the last tip of the day, I tipped Geelong to beat Sydney, which didn't happen. Then I had a better day of tipping on the Sunday. I tipped Melbourne to beat North Melbourne, Carlton to beat Essendon, and West Coast to beat Freo. So I'm 5 out of 9 for that round. It brings me to 42 correct tips. Also, I'm going to be going through my big calls to see if I have to do a punishment for the week. So the first game, Richmond v Bulldogs, I predicted Norton to have 10 or more marks. And he had 8. So I was pretty close on that one. Collingwood v Gold Coast. Predicted that the margin wouldn't exceed 15 points. And I think it got down to... I think Gold Coast were up by 36 at one stage. I think my punishment most likely was Walker and Green to combine for some sort of goals. I only had 3. So let's just say I did not get that one correct. But I got the next one correct. I said that the Saints would score over 100 points, which they did. So I got, if any of the big calls I wanted to get correct was probably that one, and I did get it correct. And the Port v Lions game, I said Neil to get 30 touches and 2 goals, but then he got injured. I changed it to Boak, and then I didn't realise he got injured, and then 15 minutes before, I've even got the proof, I changed it to Ollie Wines. But, of course, he had to kick the 1 goal and add the 37 touches, so I got that one incorrect. Sydney v Geelong. My prediction was that more than 210 points will be scored combined, and 178 points were scored combined. So I got that pretty wrong. Melbourne v North, I predicted that the D's would be in front the entirety of the game, and that didn't happen. I think North were in front for a large majority of the match. Essendon v Carlton, I predicted the Bombers kick 5 or more first quarter goals, and surprisingly I got that one correct. And then the West Coast v Freo Derby, which is a very weird game that one was. Allen and Frederick to combine for 7 more goals. And Allen didn't even score a single goal, which was very surprising. So I got that one very wrong, which only takes me to 2 out of 9. So yet again, I've got to do a punishment. And I'll look through which one I have got to do. And I'm assuming it's the Geordie Pluto one. It is 224 likes. Geordie said, me, you and Bitter. So there you go, Bitter Footy, you as well. Have to go to Southland and sing Wiggle songs for half an hour with a hat in front of us for money. Far out. That could almost be the worst of the lot. It'd be funny to see Bitter and Geordie do it as well, but Jesus Christ. Yeah, I don't have the time to do it for this week's tipping comp, but most likely next week that's going to be featuring. So look out for that. That'll just be another punishment that'll go into the punishment files that I have to do for later. But let's just get into the tipping for round 8. Hopefully I can bounce back from last week. So let's get into it. So the first game, Richmond taking on Geelong at the MCG Friday night. This one I thought was going to be a difficult one to tip, especially after half time. I thought, well, geez, if Richmond are going to lose that, Geelong might run over the top of them. Well, Richmond came off a pretty good win against the Dogs. Down and out at half time. They scored 2 goals by half time. But then they just had a resurgence and ended up winning the game by 22 points. Were very impressive. Lynch was actually really good. They just played a very good second half. Geelong, well, they should have won the game. I looked up I think there was a stat on the couch where they had like all of these stats in their favour, like scoring shots inside 50s. It suggested that they should have won pretty much 49 times out of 50, but they didn't. So they should have won that game, but Sydney, they survived the avalanche of Geelong and won the game by 2 points with a very controversial ending, which Cameron should have got that mark because it was definitely more than 15 metres. There's nothing to worry about for Geelong in terms of the way they played, but I still think Richmond at the MCG are slightly better, and I'll be tipping them to win the game, but I think it'll be a close one. Richmond 14 points, 10 or less combined goals were scored at half time. I reckon this one might be a low-scoring affair. Next game, we've got GWS taking on Essendon at Giants Stadium, 1:45. Giants had a very good win against the Crows by, I think, 67 points. I didn't actually get to watch this game, but I think Hogan kicked 4, Himmelberg kicked 3, and a few other goal scorers to a couple other Giants players. Taranto, Kelly, Whitfield, all had great games. So it was a total dominance from the Giants. I mean, the Crows, they weren't, I don't think they were terrible, but from what I'm told, they just were very sloppy with the ball. 5 goals, 14. So, yeah, the Giants are just a very much better side, and they look to be an alright side this year. Maybe they could still contend for finals. Essendon, I was at this game. They were pretty good early on, but then the Blues just sort of came back. But, you know, the Bombers weren't terrible. They fought till the end, you could say, because it was at one stage it was 28 points in the last quarter, but they got a few goals. So yeah, Essendon, just a few sloppy patches in their game, but a very entertaining game that was. And obviously, yeah, they did lose to Carlton. I think you have to go GWS. If it was at Marvel, I might be leaning onto the Bombers. I know a few people tell me, oh, why am I not tipping the Bombers? But I think if I want to be safe here, I've got to tip the Giants. So Giants by 22, but I'll go for a Bombers big call. Hooker and Tipper combined for 7 or more goals. They were very, very good last week. Next game, we've got Gold Coast Suns taking on the Saints at Metricon Stadium. I'm very nervous for this game. You couldn't get more of a 50-50 game if you wanted to. Both teams coming off some pretty good wins. The Suns, they were just way too strong for the Pies at the MCG. They looked pretty good. Yeah, they look pretty good. The Pies just look very hopeless and lackluster. But the Suns, we can't take any credit away from them. And they're now off the back of 2 wins in a row. So they've got all the confidence to win this one. Whilst the Saints, they needed to win against the Hawks, and they did just that. Winning by a very convincing 69 points, a whole 4-quarter effort, which was very good to see. So it gives me confidence for the coming weeks. If you're going to base it off recent form, the last 4 games between the Saints and the Suns have all been decided under a goal, and the Saints have won all of them. So I will go for the Saints. I'm going to tip the Saints to win this one, but by another very close game. So Saints by 4 points with the big call. 29 or more goals scored combined between the two sides. Next game, we've got North Melbourne taking on Collingwood at Marvel Stadium. This is the first game where I reckon North Melbourne could actually get the job done. Collingwood are in their worst patch of form they've been in recent memories, whilst North Melbourne, they're obviously not in great form, 0-7, but I think we can all say they've been playing slightly better footy as of late. I think, the Roos were up by 20 points at halftime against the Demons. It could have been one of the biggest upsets of all time, but obviously the D's showed their class and fought back and won by 30 points. But impressive signs from the Roos. If they play like that against the Pies, I think they'll win. Collingwood, they're just in a massive hole. Buckley probably will get sacked soon. I don't know when he'll get sacked, but they've just had terrible form. They haven't won since round 2. They just don't look like it. Their forward line is completely dead. Darcy Moore was shocking last week. I don't know why he's playing it up forward, to be honest with you. So they've got a lot of problems down at Collingwood, and if they don't win this game, Jesus Christ, holy crap! I'd be interested to see what Mitch Ryan and Bitter say in their vlogs. But I will go the Pies. I've backed them in the last 2 weeks, which is dumb, but against North Melbourne, surely they don't lose. They're a better side than North, surely. So I go Collingwood to win the game by 12 points with my big call. North to come out firing and lead it by 15 or more at quarter time. Next game, we got Melbourne taking on the Sydney Swans at the MCG on Saturday night. This could be one of the games of the round, quite honestly. Looking at the odds though, Melbourne are clear favourites to win it, but it makes sense. They're 7-0, they're playing at the G. But the Sydney Swans, they're 5-2. They've sort of found their form back again, winning probably in a game they should have won against the Cats, but they fought back. Papley kicked the goal with 2 minutes left to go to win the game, which was very exciting and great for the Swans, which keeps them in line, keeps them in touch for the top 4, quite honestly. The Demons, can't really say too much wrong about the Demons. They were frightened, I guess, early on in the game, but you know, they fought out. They ended up winning by 30 points. So, you know, they just got the win that they needed to get. And I think they should win this game as well. I know they beat Richmond at the G, but so did the Swans. The Swans play some very good footy at the G as well. So I don't think this is going to be a blowout by no means, but I think the D should hold on and should win by a comfortable 18 points. My big call being Max Gawn to have 130 or more Supercoach points. And the other Saturday night game, we've got the Showdown. Port Adelaide taking on Adelaide at the Adelaide Oval. Yeah, there was a lot of controversy about Port wanting to wear the prison bars. I don't know if that's going to be happening, but apparently if they do, they are going to deduct 4 premiership points, so that'll be interesting to see what happens there. Both of these teams had pretty shocking round 7s. Port Adelaide, they were just taught another lesson away from home against a very good side. Lost by 49 points. Were never really in the game. They pretty much had it lost by a quarter time, really. And Adelaide as well, very disappointing. I thought they would. I thought that'd actually be a pretty competitive side this year, but maybe not after what we saw around 7. I think they'll bounce back, both sides, but Port are definitely a much stronger outfit, and if they can play their best footy this week, I think they should be too strong for the Crows and win the game comfortably by 40 points, with my big call being that Port Adelaide kicks 7 or more goals in any quarter. Now the next game, we've got Hawthorn taking on West Coast at the MCG. First Sunday match of the round, and yeah, both teams all coming off pretty opposite results. One team won by 59 points, while the other lost by 69 points. Yeah, Hawthorn, I was at the game. They looked slow, they looked tired, they just weren't there. The Saints ran and rattled. Saints were just way too strong for the Hawks. But they were all right for a few patches. Like if you go through the disposal getters, the 3 of the top 4 were Hawthorn players, which is very surprising to me. But yeah, obviously Saints were a lot better. Hawks were disappointing. Their biggest loss in 4 years. And the Eagles, I didn't watch the Derby, but they scored 132 points, kicked 20 goals. It was a shootout by half-time, but after half-time it was 9 goals to 2. West Coast found their form back after their shock loss against the Cats the week prior. So this one, you'd think on paper the Eagles should win. However, it's away from Perth, and we all know that the Eagles have been shocking away from their home base, and it gives me a slight chance of going towards the Hawks. They seem to always play well against the Eagles for some reason, Hawthorn. I don't know why, but I have a funny feeling that if there were to be an upset in this round, it would be the Hawks to get up, which you don't think would happen, but I reckon I'm going to go the Hawks in this one. In a bit of an upset, Hawthorn to win the game by 10 points, with my big call that the Hawks kick 7 more goals than behind. Second last game of the round, we've got the Western Bulldogs taking on Carlton at Marvel Stadium. This one could be another pretty good game. It has the capability of being a close contest. The Carlton were pretty good against the Bombers. Challenged early, but they fought back and scored 123 points, which I think their highest scoring game since 2014 or something like that. So, you know, there's positive signs in that regards. But yeah, Carlton were pretty good. Just got the job done. Yeah, not much to say. They just needed to get the win. They did, so they're moving on to next week. The Dogs were disappointing, very disappointing after half-time. They looked a 5-goal better side by half-time, but then for some reason they sort of just dropped, and Richmond ran over the top of them convincingly. So, first loss of the season. I wouldn't put any alarm bells towards the Dogs at all. I think they should bounce back and win this one, to be honest with you. I think they'll just, they won't drop this one, I don't think. They'll win the game by 28 points. And I reckon that the big call is that the top 3 disposal getters are Western Bulldogs players, which you could say is not a big call considering how much of the ball the Dogs midfield do get. And the last game, we've got Fremantle taking on the Brisbane Lions at Optus Stadium, which could be moved to the Gabba due to Western Australia getting a few more COVID cases. So they're in a bit of a weird one down there. But yeah, the Dockers were pretty good by half-time, but then just dropped off. I didn't watch the game. I watched the highlights, but it seemed pretty disappointing, because if any game I thought for the Dockers to win in a derby, this was the time. Eagles had injuries. Freo were on form, 3-0. Eagles came off the back of a 100-point loss, and there were no crowds. I thought because there were no crowds, playing into Fremantle's favour, because West Coast were the home team in this one. But no, they got absolutely battered. Even if it's at Optus Stadium or at the Gabba, I just feel like the Lions are in a lot better form at the moment. They just smashed the power. I think they're 4 in a row now. I'm pretty sure they've won 4 games in a row, or maybe 4 of the last 5. So they, on paper, even if it's away, even if that's at home, should beat the Dockers in a fairly convincing win. It might be a little bit close at times, but I reckon that the Lions win this game by 25 points. And my big call, something a little bit random, the Lions win the tackle count by 25 or more. But there you go, guys. Those were my round 8 tips and predictions. I just really want to get some of these big calls correct. As you guys might not know if you're new to this, if I get less than 3 of these big calls correct, I've got to do a punishment. And yeah, if you watch back my previous tipping videos, I've done a lot of punishments in the past. But if you want to see, if you have a punishment that you want me to do, comment down below a punishment you want to see me do. And the one that's the most appropriate with the most likes, I will end up doing, which lately seems to always be Geordie's one, but that's because he gets in early. So if you want to get a punishment, have a good chance, get in early. Hopefully guys you enjoyed. If you're new to the channel, you want to see more tipping videos every week, more AFL videos, streams, all of that, feel free to subscribe to the channel. I've got a lot more AFL content coming your way this year, so that would be much appreciated. If you enjoyed the video, leave a like, subscribe if you're new, as I said before, and I'll see you guys very soon in my next video.